Okay, so as many of you may have noticed, we are hiring pretty aggressively recently. And I thought that I would share a little bit about how I think about hiring and specifically how I think about investing in hiring because I've had a lot of people message me one-on-one asking how I thought about it and whether there's a strategy around like how we're hiring and where we're hiring and things like that. And so the main buckets I want to talk about today is just like what are my main considerations when thinking about the hires that I think are going to meaningfully impact the company. So the hires that I like personally get involved with and how I think other founders should think about the hiring for their sort of like key personnel. So the first thing I would say is that it takes a lot of time to hire the best people. And usually from your first touch or first meeting, it is years before you work with that person because the best people are already doing something. So if you listen to the most recent D2C show with Aaron and Rabah, Aaron actually mentions briefly in a moment during that episode that Rabah had run the idea past him in the past, call it 2 years ago, of them potentially working together. And for some reason, they decided it didn't make sense at that time. And so actually, that relationship to that friendship, which then led to them working together now here at Vermont, is one that actually took years to come to fruition. And I would actually say that most of our best hires have taken a very long time to have it come to a place where they have actually joined us full time. So Rabah himself, he'll not admit this, but the first time I tried to slide into his DMs was well over a year before he joined us. And then I just kept trying to see when he might be open to connecting. Um, Similarly, for a number of other hires on the team, we actually have, for us in particular, we have a very good track record of people working with us part time at first because both sides want to de-risk the relationship before then moving into a full-time role, right? So, anyways, time to hire, super important to think about when forming relationships and thinking about, hey, when is the right time to work together? The second one is, again, founders should be thinking about high autonomy hires. And autonomy comes from both like task relevant competence or task relevant knowledge and having very high slope because there's always particularities about your business that that person is going to have to learn to apply their task relevant knowledge in a way in which will impact your business. I think generally for most hires in the company, it's actually okay to hire high slope, low task competence, but those are not the roles that the founder will ever actually be able to coach, right? It's you just don't have enough time, but other people on your team can coach those people. And I think in general, hiring for high slope is a very, very useful activity. I mean, low slope, high competence is honestly, you're just hiring a knowledge bank at that time. It's not clear to me that you want that type of role full time versus part time. And then low slope, low competence is very easy. You don't hire those people. All right. So, anyways, this is where founders should be spending their time. Whether you're a SaaS founder, a D2C founder, it doesn't matter. And now this last one is the one I think that most people do not think about, which I want to spend a couple of minutes on. It's do you have the infrastructure to enable that person to lean on their superpowers and only their superpowers? So I just like made five random buckets and I'm like, in this particular case, I'm saying like bucket three and bucket five are this particular person's superpowers. And then they're like, okay, or under median for buckets one, two, and four. What you want to do is make sure that the organization is set up so that way this is not relevant and they can lean in very, very hard over here and drive incredible leverage for your business in these two areas. So I'll give a particular example for like myself. So I will like tend to miss things or forget things. And so one example is like I have a communication norms system for myself where I ask people to like use certain channels to communicate in order to make sure that I actually do the task right. And that's just like a simple infrastructure thing that you can do. An example that I would use in terms of hiring other people is I think like one of Raba's core strengths is he's unafraid of greatness. So what I mean by that is he's like unafraid to make big investments. And a way that I'm able to lean on that is I just push him very, very hard on big questions and we lean on each other for big questions. So like, for example, I will call him and say like, hey, Rabbi, what if we tripled the marketing budget for the year? Like, what would that actually do for us? Or he will call me and say, hey, Rishabh, I think that we can drive like 10x as much revenue for the business if we just did X, right? And so we have a relationship where we push each other on the dimension of something that he is exceptional at. And I think the reason I say that he's exceptional at it is it is very rare for somebody to feel comfortable with like goals that are much, much larger than where the business is at today. All right, so just a quick synopsis. When you are hiring, think about time to hire. Do not be afraid to invest in years for the best people. Founders should spend their time on high competence, high slope people, and then set up an infrastructure to help you such that, and your hires such that you are not spending time on things that you are not great at, but you are pushing people on the things and pushing each other on things that those people are exceptional at. I'll see you on the next one.